Welcome everybody back to Boost in Motion, guys, and today I've been asked a lot of questions on my wheel fitment and tire setup. So I want to make a video on some of you guys that are going to be lowering your Q50 on drop springs, RSRs, or downs or super downs, and or for some of you guys that are going to have coilovers at a moderately functional height. Now, I do have a video talking about the widest wheels and tires that I'm going to put up in a card up here. This used to be an old Q50 owner Redsport who put the widest wheels and the widest tires on a stock Redsport. And pretty much, if you guys want that type of fitment, you can go for it. But this video is just going to be underlining some of the issues and some of the things that you need to get done when you lower your Q50 on coilovers and or drop springs. And what wheel rims and tire sizes to go. So let's dig in. But like always, guys, please hit that like button. That's the most I ask you guys to do. If you enjoy the content, subscribe to the channel. I put up a lot of DIY information. I also do DIYs, and I talk about other cars and just pretty much just have car talk with you guys. So appreciate y'all. Let's get into the video. My specs are 19 by 10.5 plus 35 offset, and I have that all the way around. I have non-sport calipers, but my wheels and spoke design does fit BBKs, and also on top of that, I'm rocking a 255 40 R19 BARUM tires. I'll also put some links above to the tires I use and just, the installation if you guys want to go back and look at those videos. But anyways, let's continue. Alright guys, so I'm also lowered on BC Racing coilovers, and I set them to the appropriate height that I like. Tire to fender. That's just how I like it. Yes, BC Racing coilovers could go lower than this, and they could go higher, okay? If most of you guys that are going to be on lowering springs, such as RSR downs or super downs, you'll be right around this height. Super downs, you might be a little bit lower. Now, you guys have noticed that I was talking about lowering your car first, right? Because that is the most important part. In the picture is my first Q50. And what I need to do is lower it first just to see if I even do like the one ride comfort. That is the most important thing. Now, I've had drop springs in the past on other vehicles and I really didn't like them. So in my other vehicles, I also always traded up for coilovers, and I always love the consistent comfort that comes with coilovers and the adjustability. But nonetheless, you guys know roughly once you lower your car right around where it will sit, and from that point on, then you can choose the wheel and tires that fit. So remember guys, this guide is to make it so easy for you guys to understand width and offsets. So to make it a bit easier, remember my wheel is a 10.5 and plus 35 offset. Now let's say you want this wheel to stick out even farther from the body. You would have to go with a lower offset. So you'll come from a 35 to, let's say, a plus 30. And you guys are saying, well, what does that mean? Why the numbers getting lower even though the wheel is still pushing out? Reason being is when that plus 35 turns to a 30 or plus 25 or plus 20, that means that's how far the wheel is going to push out from the body of the car. That's the best and easiest way to get you guys to understand it, right? Now, when you guys see plus 5 and negative, that means that the wheel is even sticking even farther away from the wheel, and it's also passing the wheel center line. I don't want to break that down. You guys can Google that part, but that's just a quick way to understand wheel offsets. Alright guys, so my recommendation to get a close to flush look is a 9.5 inch wide wheel up to a 10.5 inch wide wheel, depending on offsets that you guys go with. Remember, look at this picture. I'm on a 10.5 plus 35. If I go with a lower offset, such as a 25, the wheel will stick away from the car. Now, some people might chime in and say this all depends on camber. Let's be fair here. Most of us are not going to get camber arms. We're going to be on stock camber or natural camber. So in this case, I would recommend on a 9.5 inch wheel, stick between the offsets of plus 45 and go as low as plus 25. Right around that spectrum. Okay, guys? That's gonna pretty much give you right around the closeness towards the flushness to the body lines and the body arch of the wheel well without pulling the fenders or anything. This is for mainly talking about for the back, because the front is a little bit easier to pull off. All right, now for the guys who are gonna want to rock a 10.5-inch wide wheel, we can go as low as maybe even a 50 offset, a 50 45 offset too, but we can go as high, my recommendation, right around that 30. Now you can also fit GTR wheels, which are a plus 25, but you usually have to put stretch tires on a plus 25. So that's why I'm saying that on a 10.5 you should go as high as a plus 30. Plus 25, if you guys want to rock GTR wheels, fine. You'll just have to stretch your tires a little bit, or we have to play with the camber without the car rubbing. But if you want a flush look with decent tread and decent amount of tire, go with a 45, a 50, 45 offset up until right around that plus 35. Okay guys, so let's move on to the tires. I almost forgot to mention too that you guys are gonna ask about camber and how much negative camber is bad. Guys, just go get alignment after. Right now, majority, some of the common negative camber measurements you'll get on your Q50 lowered on springs or coilovers will be between 2 degrees, negative 2 degrees to negative 3 degrees. That is fine. As long as the toe is within spec, you'll be perfectly fine. You will not eat up the tires. And the same thing applies to the front. So let's move on to the front. Now, I talked about earlier in this video about the front being a bit easier. And it is, because the wheel arches are a bit wider. But there's going to be two issues you guys are going to run into. One, the front has no camber arms. So when you keep putting the car lower and lower, the camber is going to go more in the negative. One way to alleviate that is to purchase front camber arms for the car. On my car, I have, I believe, Godspeed front camber arms, and they're set to the rear to negative 2.5 degrees of camber. So I have negative 2.5 degrees all the way around. But for the second issue is some of you guys who have sport calipers. Now, if you guys are going to pick a wheel that you guys want, my recommendation is to Google that wheel on either a Q50 with sport calipers, a 350Z, a G37. Do you guys see where I'm going with this? Try to find the wheel that you want on a car with a BBK in the front. Usually in those cases, it makes it so much more easier to know if it will fit. All right, guys, that's the easiest way to get around knowing if the wheel you want will fit the calipers that you have. But for the non-sport caliper guys like me, we don't really have to run into those issues nonetheless. All right, guys, so once again, you can rock also the same wheel sizes and offsets from the rear to the front, because based on how much you want to choose to adjust your camber in the front, if you do get camber arms to match the rear, it's just the easiest and simplest things to do. For some of you rear-wheel drive guys, it's the same thing. The architecture is different on the front without the fork, but you can still adjust your camber if you get to use the same camber arms. All right, guys. Alright guys, so we made it to the part of the video where we're going to pick a tire size. You guys already know about the wheel widths and you already know about the offsets. So let's pick the right tire size. Let's start off with plus 45. Now, my recommendation is to go up to about a 275 on a 45 offset. And this is between a 9.5 and a 10.5 inch wide wheel. Reason being, guys, is you can fit a wider tire on there. Just because a tire can fit doesn't mean it will fit under the body of the car without rubbing. Some people might say, you know, you could probably put a 295 under there. If you guys choose to, you can do so. But the reason why I'm picking 275 is anything bigger than a 275 on a 9.5, it will start looking a little funny and it will bulge a little. But if you put 275 from the 9.5 to the 10.5, it's actually really great, and that's a pretty common tire size. Now let's move on to the plus 35, guys. Same thing, 9.5 to 10.5 plus 35 is like my tire size. My recommendation is you go up to at most 265. All right, some of you guys might be able to push a 275. I believe I could push a 275 on my wheel setup, but it may be too tight for comfort, and everybody's car may vary depending on the drop and or the amount of camber you're running. So my recommendation, up to 265, but 255 should be a common tire size for the plus 35 offset. And lastly, guys, we're at the plus 25 offset. Now this is going to be a quite common wheel size that people are going to want to put in the rear. And yes, depending on the size, you can get this wheel to fit. But the thing is, you cannot put any really wider tire other than a 255 in the rear. And even if you go with a lower offset from a 20 to a 22 to a 15, you guys are going to run into fitment issues where you're going to have to put a really skinny tire, well, based on width, in the rear and run excessive camber. If that's what you guys want to do, this video isn't for you. All right, guys, I'm gonna make a separate video talking about that. But nonetheless, guys, at the most, at the widest, a 255 tire on a plus 25, on a 9.5 to a 10.5 in the rear. All right, guys, so we made it to the end of the video. I want to say thank you so much for watching the video. You can contact me on boostinmotion on Facebook and boostinmotion on Instagram. If you like this video, please hit the like button. I would appreciate it. Please hit the subscribe button with the bell notifications. I put out so much information for the Q50 Q60 community. I love y'all so much. Appreciate y'all. Y'all have a good morning, good afternoon, and good night. Signing out.